Beth Wilkinson was a 17-year-old girl with a history of depression, and she jumped to her death. Leila Alcorn was a 17-year-old transgender girl who walked in front of a semi-truck. Tyler Long was a 17-year-old boy with Asperger's syndrome who was teased and bullied in school, and he hung himself in his room. Ty Smalley was an 11-year-old boy who was teased and bullied, and after fighting back at a bully, he was called to the office, suspended from school, and later on that day, his mother found him in his room with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for young people ages 10 to 24. With over 40,000 deaths, it's double the number of lives lost to homicide. Half of all mental health disorders can show first signs before the age of 14 years old, and 3/4 of mental health disorders can begin before the age of 24. Hi, my name is Megan Childers. Today we're going to explore the world of mental health and why it needs to be talked about more, and study the effects of mental health disorders in Americans, most importantly under the age of 24. We'll look at the facts, experiences with suicide, and how mental health disorders in youth are at an all-time high. First, we'll look at a general aspect of what mental health is. Mental health includes our emotional, physical, cognitive, and behavioral well-being in our lives. It is a very important subject because it has to do with our brains, which can ultimately affect relationships. The World Health Organization defines mental health as a state of well-being in which every individual realizes his or her own potential, can cope with normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. Mental health disorders in youth has become a huge problem, with numbers found that children's hospitals doubling from ages 5 to 17-year-olds with suicide thoughts or actions from 2008 to 2015. Dr. Gregory Plemons, a professor at Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt in Nashville, is all too familiar when it comes to teen suicide, seeing that young people are expressing quote-unquote more dramatic ways of harming themselves. Plemons told USA Today that hanging and suffocation seem to be around in a way they weren't before. As you can see from the statistics, youth and mental health disorders are a huge problem. Not only do these disorders exist in kids in high school and younger, college students suffer as well, if not worse. College students have become the most vulnerable when it comes to stress, anxiety, and depression. A source from the ADAA showed that 80% of college students say they sometimes or often feel stressed, and 10% of students have thoughts of suicide. With all of this information, there needs to be more recognition about mental health and how it is affecting millennials now and future generations. We have discussed what mental health is and how it affects the youth and why it needs to have more recognition and awareness. Having stress is normal, but learning how to deal with the stress is what makes a huge difference in not letting it escalate to something worse. Having a mental health disorder is not a weakness or something that people want for quote-unquote attention. It is something that needs to have better resources to help control it. HelpGuide.org says, quote, "A suicidal person may not ask for help, but that doesn't mean that the help isn't wanted. People who take their own lives don't want to die. They just want to stop the hurting." Suicide prevention starts with recognizing the warning signs and taking them seriously. If you think a friend or family member is considering suicide, you might be afraid to bring up the subject, but talking openly about suicidal thoughts and feelings can save a life. Here are some tips to help your loved ones if they are experiencing suicidal thoughts or actions. Number 1, speak up if you're worried. Giving a suicidal person the opportunity to express his or her feelings can provide relief from loneliness and can pent up negative feelings and may prevent a suicide attempt. Number 2, respond quickly in a crisis. If a friend or family member tells you that he or she is thinking about death or suicide, it is important to evaluate the immediate danger the person is in, meaning respond quickly if a suicide attempt has occurred. And number 3, offer help and support. If a friend or family member is suicidal, the best way to help is by offering an empathetic, listening ear. Let your loved one know that he or she is not alone and that you care. Remember that you are not alone. Do not be afraid to get help and that you do.